Welcome to MSHA 599 Humanitarian Crisis Simulation. This is the video handoff to partners. I'm Mark Kovic. So this is where I want to begin. It all began with my aha moment. Have you ever had that special moment, even that brief sense of satisfaction when it all makes sense, it all comes together? You can't prepare for it. You don't know how or when it's going to happen, and yet it does, or rather it did with me. It all began when we took a tour of the shelter. We saw the self-care area, the showers, the toilets, and the sinks. That was my light bulb moment. While I didn't have any answers at that time or even now, I knew I was there. My training as an occupational therapist and 30 years of experience combined with my humanitarian action formal education allowed me to elucidate that there's an overwhelming need for dignity of having sufficient self-care facilities. Additionally, from a public health perspective, the sheer number of migrants juxtaposed with the limited number of items there made it clear to me exactly where I was needed to be and to make the world a better place. With this in mind, I'm going to go over just a quick snapshot here. So the migrants have arrived and converged upon Distrito Nuevo on their way to Independencia. And this border crossing is limiting them because there's fortified barriers there that's inaccessible. And so they're in limbo with their lives. They can't go home, they can't go forward. And existing services that are there are limited, strained, and overwhelming: shelter, food, hygiene, and everything. Father Torres is part of this local network with his Refugio de Amor, which has for decades served the region and community. Alongside Human Rights International, Confederation de Nación, they exist to support and interact, CROC, and are available supports. So two key areas that are urgent problem areas amongst many are with sanitation and food security. And the sanitation is the most immediate need because this densely populated area, which has hygiene-related challenges, can be a focal point for germs, airborne and waterborne disease, unhealthy circumstances, and they can all quickly spread disease. The recent outbreak of varicella, also known as chickenpox, happened quickly and spread like wildfire. And so even though healthcare workers can contain and limit its spread, the conditions that gave rise to this problem still exist. So all aspects of sanitation need to be adjusted. There's limited availability, decreased privacy, and lack of dignity, and not enough supplies. Related to this is food security. It can be complicated because it's an intersection between the local residents and the migrants coming to a tipping point with an unintended consequence related to culture. Locals are upset that resources, including potable water, are being provided to migrants, and it's either being wasted or impacting them negatively. The migrants are doing the best they can, trying to eat the food that they know how. So as a result, this becomes the key issue, but yet an opportunity for change. Right here, you see a snapshot of what it looks like in the shelter for these resources. And so major recommendation number one is related to sanitation. And it's recommended that for sanitary purposes, latrines should be built away from living spaces. This matters for hygiene, safety, privacy, and dignity. While building a new shelter, increasing spaces here could be more challenging, it might be easier to build latrines to increase access, minimize health-related issues, and pull away from the burden on the shelter for the more immediate short-term time frame. Recommendation one is to build these latrines. The recommendation guidelines are one toilet for each gender for approximately, and one toilet for each 50 people. Hand washing is also important. This visual is on the PowerPoint slide right next to where I'm at, but the take-home message here is that hand washing is an easy way to address that. The recommendation by UNHCR is that it's 1-to-1 ratio of hand washing per device, a device per toilet. And the food areas could benefit from this as well for food to decrease risks and challenges there. Major recommendation two intersects the first one, the second one does, and it's related to food security. Elderly, children, persons with disabilities have ongoing challenges, including language barriers and dietary foods, as long as the long wait in queue. Impracticality makes it hard to feed hundreds of people, and so those with special needs are going to have additional challenges. in addition to those who have health-related challenges such as diabetes. So the recommendations are increasing the number of lines of queues, the person serving the food, including shifts for vulnerable persons being fed first, educating both migrants and locals about the need and what's food waste and how to address it. Engaging participants from each country to include everybody is important, and collaborating with the local residents throughout every stage of the process is highly recommended. How does this happen? These streamlined proposed strategies here, determining, including, and establishing are hugely important. They can create a automatic, dynamic quality improvement cycle. And one of the most limiting factors when you do a seamless transition is if things are misinterpreted, if messages are miscommunicated, there's going to be a larger issue and false assumptions, and it could waste valuable time. So local residents have already been concerned about waste in the shelters. And so adapting through collaboration through consensus, that's the determining the most effective means of communication, and including everybody is important. That's the step number 2. Then we have that common ground in order to make decisions moving forward. And that establishes us to do a train the trainer approach and have the migrants and even the local community own what needs to be done and scale that up beyond what we can do just by ourselves. That would allow a smoother transition within a contextual language. Lau and Rogers published in 2021 that active partnering and building trust like this can prevent conflicts and is quite effective. Pulling from the branching scenario learning activity, the solutions there have some key points to them to make note of is that no matter what we do or don't do, there's going to be unintentional consequences. It's how well do we prepare for them. We should always have cultural considerations. On all of our decisions should be collaborative in nature, and teamwork is an important part of all of this. So what's the take-home message? The IOM in 2021 talks about empowerment and engagement. This is what it's all about. This web that's woven here is that the migrant stories are extremely important, and they can be very powerful. Knowledge's attitudes and practice can decrease stigma, misinformation, and calm fears. Each story is important for hopes and desires for their families, and whether it's a mother who wants her child to have a place to live and a promise, or the promise to help an elderly family member, all together it can matter and we can make a difference. The stories are powerful. These are real lives and they matter. The question is what are we going to do about it?